Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Annika Rodney, and with me today is Bryce Bowen, Josie Middleton, Owen Farragon, and Caitlin McLaughlin. As a group, we specialize on the question, what does sustainable or local food mean to people? Our sponsor for this project was Edith Tabler of TME Farms, a local family farm near Camrose that specializes in pork, beef, and poultry. Edith Tabler runs TME Farms, which is a local family farm near Camrose focused on raising healthy livestock and producing high-quality foods. TME Farms is a 15-acre micro farm which directly markets pork, beef, and poultry products to Camrose and area. The animal housing is energy efficient, with the animals living outdoors most of the time and having windbreaks and sheds for shelter. Edith and her family love their animals, ensuring the animals have the best and most natural quality of life. Edith is also the chairperson of the Camrose County Food Artisans Group. We were thrilled to partner with Edith throughout this project, and we hope our project and deliverables expand upon her work at TME Farms.
So our goal for this project was to explore people's attitudes towards local food. So other than price, what motivates people to buy local? The main topics we will look at today are nutritional value, trustworthiness of farmers, accessibility, and animal quality of life. When we first sat down as a group, we came up with a group goal for the project. Ours is as follows. By the end of the 3-week, we hope to gain specific knowledge about sustainable practices by focusing on animal products produced by TME Farms, and not only encourage, but educate the community on local sustainability as well. So during our meetings with local farm owner Edith, we really gained a large amount of knowledge and insight into the numerous sustainability practices she does every day at TME Farms.
So why should you buy local food? Buying locally produced foods supports the local economy, which can be built on a foundation of trust because you can meet and talk with the farmer. Local food has a higher nutritional value and tastes better because it is fresher, and generally smaller farms are more concerned with replenishing and building the soil, which is the foundation of healthy plants and animals. What is healthier for the environment is also healthier for you. There is less packaging and transportation involved with local foods, which reduces plastic waste and carbon emissions. Buying local food strengthens your community, making it more self-sufficient and resilient to disaster. For example, when COVID first hit, some items on the grocery store shelves got cleaned out. If you had local sources for your food, you would be less reliant on that grocery store product. Or if something happened to the distribution system, the local food would still be there to support you. When people understand the source of their food, they feel more connected to it, which can foster more respect for their food. This attitude shift could help in reducing food waste, as through this process of learning about agriculture and connecting with farmers, you begin to understand the value of the food. Eating locally can open your mind to eating more creative dishes as well, and shifting your ideals of what are staple foods. TME Farms provides some recipes and some pre-packaged food boxes with all the ingredients needed for that recipe. This picture is from my garden last summer, and I included it because I find that knowing where your food comes from and knowing who grew it is just extremely satisfying and rewarding.
So there's plenty of misconceptions around local food. Specifically, we, as mentioned earlier, didn't focus on anything price related because last year's student group focused on this, so we took a different route. So some misconceptions that we're just going to talk about are accessibility, small local farm methods versus industrialized farms, where grocery store food comes from, and the meaning behind product labels such as cage-free. So accessibility is one of the biggest ones for sure. Everyone always thinks, oh, local food is so hard to get. I have to put in a bunch of effort. And why would I do that when I can just go to the grocery store? Well, that's the thing. It's not that big of a difference. It doesn't take that much effort to eat locally. Same thing with misconceptions on industrialized farms. There's so many things that happen there that we are blind to, that we don't know about, and we think it's okay, and we continue eating from them. So just misconceptions that go on both sides of the spectrum really can affect our decision making on eating locally.
All right, so the importance of awareness comes down to knowledge. What do you know about local sources around you? In the results of our survey, the most common response to the question of what would it take for you to buy local was more knowledge of sources around me and convenience. However, lots of local sources offer convenient and accessible options such as delivery, subscription boxes, and you pick it yourself. And this knowledge is often just a Google search away. There are many other important aspects of awareness of local businesses, such as knowing the sustainability aspect around supporting local, knowing your farmer and how the animals are raised. Being aware means you're able to make the eco-friendly, sustainable, and responsible choice for your next meal, and recognizing the misconceptions surrounding local food and how that might affect whether you choose the grocery store over local options for your next dinner.
So we keep bringing up the misconceptions, but what exactly are some practices that small farms like TME utilize? And why are they so much better for the environment? Just because it is a small farm doesn't necessarily mean that it is more sustainable. So this is where the importance of knowing your farmer and their practices comes into play. Intensive agriculture practices are used to specialize farms in one thing, such as only producing poultry, or only wheat and canola, or a cattle feedlot, or a large hog barn. Usually it's just one thing. Like planting a monoculture, especially the same monoculture year after year, creates an imbalance in the soil nutrients, which farmers then try to replenish with artificial fertilizers. This leads to an over-application of fertilizer, which, if not used by the plants, gets washed away in the rain and can cause algal blooms in freshwater systems and create dead zones in those water bodies. Pesticides used to kill weeds are also a health issue for bees, animals, and humans. Having large barns for mass production of one species also leads to a concentration of nutrients in one area, which have similar effects as the runoff from fertilizer. These animals rarely see daylight and are kept in cramped quarters. This reduces their quality of life and can increase the risk and spread of diseases. So in contrast, a small diversified farm generally houses their livestock outdoors, having rangeland and shelters for them. This keeps the surrounding ecosystem more in balance. Animal manure spread across the landscape adds beneficial nutrients to the soil, which reduces or eliminates the farmer's reliance on artificial fertilizers. Intercropping, which is planting two crops together, can compete with weed pressure and keep the soil health in balance. This can reduce the need for pesticides to control weeds. Also, after a grain crop is harvested, the weed seeds can be screened out and fed back to the chickens and pigs. Smaller farms usually require less heavy-duty machinery, which reduces their carbon emissions. It is easier to see the cycle of things on a small farm, which is similar to the cycle of life and nutrients that happens in nature. So in this way, they're mimicking the natural systems. This fosters a more creative outlook that can lead to more climate solutions.
So here are the results of our survey. So our survey, we surveyed 250 people about their views on local goods and their productions of those local goods. Our survey found that 73.5% of the 250 people surveyed said locally sourcing animal products was important to their shopping. But we found that even though most people thought that it was important to eat local, only 34% of people supply the majority of their animal products locally. We also found that the majority of people don't buy locally because of two things: knowing what local sources are around them and accessibility. And we wanted to tackle these questions on how can we address the awareness of these local farms. And here's the pie charts showing how important it was for them to buy locally and how much they did purchase locally down in the bottom right there.
All right, so our podcast. Happy Pigs Taste Better, was based around misconceptions of local food and how these preconceived biases might make people choose grocery store food over local sources. We chose to do a podcast because it can extend its reach to multiple age groups and different social media platforms. It's easy to just turn on and listen to anywhere, so while you're doing the chores, while you're driving, and it can be relatable when talking about personal experiences and biases. Finally, we named it Happy Pigs Taste Better to capture the main idea of our podcast, as well as bring light to animal welfare and mass production companies versus small local farms.
So we made an advertisement for our podcast to spread the word. Our main target audience was younger people, youth, teenagers, young adults, because if we want change, that group is going to be a big part of it, or at least the start of it. Because if we need a long-term change, it's with this group. So we went down the social media route, TikTok specifically, because many of you know TikTok videos can blow up, and people usually spend hours on there watching video after video. And so we thought that was a good choice rather than putting it on Facebook or Instagram where it can easily be skipped and scrolled. So we made a little short, funny video. There's a picture of it there. If you want to check it out on our TikTok, you can click the link.
So the results of our project. The creation of a podcast and advertisements helped decrease misconceptions surrounding local food in an approachable manner. Advertisements were aimed at youth and young adults using the TikTok platform, and we hope that the increase of information around local food and the consumption of local food will increase. Through the introduction of our podcast, we were able to push local goods and increase the knowledge of local foods and why to purchase them and where to purchase them. We also debunked a lot of misconceptions about local food and showed local production compared to the corporate production. One thing to take notice is that most of these results are preemptive, but we hope in time that we will see the accessibility and sales of these local goods increase overall.
All right, so I just want to go over some quick options for local in Camrose and how you might be supporting local and not even know it. So in Camrose, we have Overtime Tap House, which is a restaurant in Camrose that sources all of their food locally. We have Save on Foods, which has a local-only section in their grocery store. And we also have an extensive list with over 60 local producers provided by the food artisans of Camrose County, which you can find on their website and Facebook page, and it's just a quick Google search away.
We really wanted to do this project to inspire people to change their thoughts and decisions concerning local food. Any form of change supporting local foods, even if it's just the knowledge of information dealing with them, is a step in the right direction. As a group, we brainstormed and thought of some steps in the next direction, with the goal being to increase accessibility. One way to do this would be to have a grocery store only full of local foods. Larger metropolises have indoor farmers markets year-round, or even artisan markets. And just imagine if these were more widespread. Another idea we had was to increase the availability within grocery stores and perhaps even specific labeling on local foods. The survey we released early in the project showed that if buying local was easier and more accessible, people would be more likely to buy local. Something as simple as a section in a grocery store can be extremely helpful, as Save on Foods has demonstrated, or even a bright, colorful label showcasing local food. Awareness and accessibility can really make a huge difference. Another possibility we thought of was a delivery service strictly for local foods. A company out of Calgary called albertagrocery.ca offers delivery to Calgary and Okotoks with strictly local products. Grocery stores already have delivery services, but imagine if local farmers or producers teamed up with a grocery store or a company like albertagrocery.ca. Our survey results show that accessibility is a major barrier when it comes to shopping local, yet we hope that the information presented in this report, as well as others, sparks more conversation about local, sustainable food.
So, just to conclude, spreading awareness about local food and the benefits that are gained by shopping local will increase the momentum behind the movement and break down barriers built on misconceptions. We also found that a connection to the land is beneficial, and eating locally brings you closer to your home. We encourage you to reflect on your eating habits and to see if you can incorporate local food into your diet. Listen to our podcast for a more in-depth exploration of local food.
Thank you for your time, everyone. Does anyone have any questions?